Hey guys, so we're going to try this. It's been a lot harder for me to do this than I kind of thought it would. But what I want to do is, I've got about 35 cues now, and I thought I would just put my top, whatever, prettiest cues up and just describe them a little bit, I guess. Problem was, it's hard to pick 10 because, I mean, let's face it, if looking at a cue made me want to vomit, I wouldn't have bought it in the first place. So I like them all in their own ways, and beyond just picking 10, trying to put those 10 in order, it seemed to be almost impossible. And I'm sure I'm going to make this video and then I'm going to go back and go, oh man, these two need to be switched or whatever. So we're just going to do it and see what happens. Just so I can put a video out there. So I want to say in no particular order, but as of right now, this is going to be order 10 through 1. Prettiest cues for me. Not necessarily fanciest, gaudiest, certainly not most expensive. Just the kind of cue that appeals to my taste the most. So we'll just go through these. So this cue right here is a Predator 90. I want to say 97 something. I should have researched the numbers. I bought this at Super Billiards Expo around the turn of the century, and just immediately loved it. I had seen this kind of cue before. I saw it, in person. I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta have this guy. They didn't want to sell it to me. It was their display for their booth, and I kept hounding them and hounding them and hounding them, and eventually they sold this to me. It had I think it had just a black Irish linen wrap. I've since had it rewrapped with the Boar's Hide by Richard Filippi. I like the leather wraps a whole lot better. The problem with this cue for me is it doesn't hit very good. Just it flat out doesn't. And I'll say on a lot of my cues, like my PCRs especially, it'll hit like a railroad tie. This is like a piece of bamboo that's broken. Just doesn't do very well, and I knew that pretty much right away. But that does not take away from the fact that for me this is very pretty. I've always loved this part down here. This part up here, not as much, but still. Number 10, as of right now. This guy right here is a McDermott D21. And I don't know, that maybe this is just a little bit like a nostalgia purchase, sentimental purchase for me. But when I first got stationed in Omaha, Nebraska, of course got to know the players and all that that were around there. And one of the guys had one of these McDermott D21s. And he was a better player than me. And this was like the first cue that I ever remember looking at and going, oh, I really like that. That's really pretty. Where's everybody else? They had more or less plain Jane McDermott's or Mucci's or whatever. Kmart specials. This was a cue I'm like, man, this is pretty. That guy must be a really good player. And he was a really good player. So that's why this is on here. It took me a long time to find one of these in good shape for sale. But I finally did. I had to get it shipped off to McDermott to get a leather wrap on it. And they also added some weight to it. It was very light. It was like 15.5 ounces or something like that. But liked a lot. Just a little bit of trivia. This is my squirtiest cue that I own, with the exception of maybe a house cue. It's ridiculous how much this thing squirts, but still like it. At number 8, this cue right here makes me just a tad sad. This is a Sean. Almost positive this is an SL10. And this cue, this actual setup, this has got a Jacobi shaft on it. This setup was my main setup for about 6 years. This cue replaced my Sean R12 as my daily driver cue. My taste had changed over the years, and I thought that just the way this thing looked, kind of, you know, a little bit simpler than what I had been using, just great. I still love the way this cue looks. Of course, I'm not thrilled anymore with the rounded points, and that's just me being a little bit of a snob, turning into a little bit of a snob over the years. And of course, I did have this rewrapped. I got rid of whatever was on it, probably nylon or something. This is a fairly old cue, and had Richard Filippi replace it with the boar's height. So there's that guy. Speaking of that SL10 becoming my main for a while, this is a peach hour. And I usually refer to this as my third peach hour. It's the last one that I got. I only got this like last January. I got the butt end of this last January. The shaft I had before. This cue, as far as I'm concerned, the looks of this cue fits me as well as any other cue I've ever had. It's just the right balance of being kind of fancy, but not so fancy that you're afraid to take it anywhere. Or, you know, not too gaudy. You're not showing off when you show up with this cue. You just have a nice cue. Again, points, not that thrilled with, but this was my main setup for a while until I won a Tim Scruggs, and then this guy got hung on my wall. But I still really like the way this cue looks. And this cue, this is one of those cues that hits like a railroad tie. Fantastic. The peach hours, all of the peach hours I have, just hit fantastic. So there's that. That was what, 6? Now 7. So then, speaking of peach hours, I mentioned that I just got the butt of the other one like last year. This is the one I had before. This was pretty much the first cue that I ever went online and looked and special ordered this cue. This was a discontinued model, but I kind of begged and said, please, please, please give me, no, sell me one of these. And I specified I want all this that is black in the pictures. I want it to be black. I said if it comes back brown, I'm going to return the cue. And they did. It came out perfect. I had a really good Derby City with this in 2020. It hits like a down railroad tie. This cue is just a little bit odd. Let me see if I still even have this in here. Yeah. Oh, if you could pick that up in the camera. But inside there, I have a little rubber O-ring. I glued that rubber O-ring in there because this cue had a weird sound to it. It hit just fine, but it had a weird sound. And I got rid of that weird sound by putting that little O-ring in there. Very pretty. I look at this right now, and I think it's just a little bit understated because it doesn't have any colors at all. But I like the, whatever that's called. I forget what that's called. I like all that stuff. Looks great. Great looking cue. So the next, and this is going to be weird, especially for me. This is a Mucci. This is an HOF1. This is not the original, whatever that model was. And I just really like the simple design of this. I like the sharp points. It's hard to tell from the camera, but all of this here is like, it's like multicolored stain or something. It just looks really nice. A friend of mine that I used to play with all the time has what I believe is the original version of this, the 96, 97 version, whatever. And I was always like that. So I saw this online and said, yeah, I'm buying this damn thing. The other thing about the Muccis is I was very pleasantly surprised at how well they play. When I first started playing League, all the people like at my level, we either shot with a McDermott or a Mucci. And we kind of split into two different camps. You know, I didn't like the Mucci guys. I was the McDermott guy, and they didn't like me. And you know, So I never even really tried a Michi. Never tried. It's kind of, you know, maybe like a Ford and a Chevy guy. They just don't mix, and we didn't mix. We just didn't. We decided that all the Michi guys had really horrible taste in cues, and they decided that all of us McDermott guys have really horrible taste in cues. This thing not only looks really nice, plays really, really well. This cue came out, I don't know if this particular cue came out before the days of all the low squirt shafts, but it's not marketed as a low squirt shaft, but it is one. This is just as good as the first generation Predator 314s as far as squirt characteristics go. It's a nice thing. All right. I couldn't leave this one off. This is my Scruggs. I won this about 11 months ago in one of Tony Joann's raffles, and when I entered the raffle and of course saw pictures of it, I was like, man, that's pretty dumbed down for a famous now deceased cue maker. But my taste had changed over the years, and especially when I got this cue and saw what fantastic shape it's in, this is just pretty as hell. This was my first Scruggs, my only Scruggs actually. Yeah, my only Scruggs. And I liked it a lot, and I probably shoot better with this cue than anything else that I have. This wrap, I don't know what it is. It's some kind of lizard texture or something. I don't know if the camera's picking any of this up at all. But this wrap feels really good. It almost feels like rubbery. Like it's not paper thin like a lot of the leather wraps you get. There's something there. I can squeeze it and I can compress it a little bit. Really nice. And again, I think the cue looks fantastic. This cue is a Carmeli, and this is my second Carmeli. I won a Carmeli in one of Tony's raffles. Like the looks of it okay, but it's not in my list of top 10. It's a little bit too gaudy for me, but I liked it enough to where I went online and ordered another one. This I think I just got used off Facebook. It had Irish linen wrap. I had it shipped back to Ariel to get rewrapped. This is a Spanish bull wrap, which I really like the feel of and the looks of. I really like the colors, different shades of blue and such like that. When I bought this, I ordered this thinking, well, once I get it back from getting rewrapped, this is going to be my new main cue. But I won that Scruggs in the meantime. And while I do like this, and I did play okay with it, I didn't play nearly as well as I played with the Scruggs. So this ended up just going on my wall and looking pretty. So now we're down to number 2, and this one is one I just bought and I just talked about recently in one of my videos. This is my Omen cue that I just bought at Derby City. And as I mentioned in the video about those cues, the thing that really caught my eye about this is these subtle colors, these subtle veneers carry through all the rings. And for me, this cue is just about the perfect balance of looking really, really nice, but not too nice. It doesn't look like I'm showing off when I shoot with this thing. I don't think so anyway. I think it's great. It came with a leather wrap already, which I don't know what kind of leather this is. This is probably just regular leather. It's not Spanish bull or anything like that. I like this cue a lot, and it plays pretty well. It's got I've got to find out what kind of a tip is on it. It plays like it's got a soft tip, and I'm not used to a soft tip, so a lot of times I'll overspin shots with this cue that I wouldn't with something else. This is still in contention to maybe become a daily driver cue. It's right up there with my Scruggs and my current daily driver, my Southwest. as far as playability goes. And this, obviously, I really like the looks. This came in at number 2. Now this one is going to be weird and annoying to a lot of people, but it's my damn list. This is, let me turn this. This is one of those Willie 526 Predators. I don't remember the number that it is, but I ordered this one online a few years ago. I decided I'm going to move away from that SL10, that Sean SL10, and I'm going to order another cue. And so I ordered this with every intention of this being my main cue. Problem was, with, like, I guess most of the Predator cues that I've had over the years, doesn't hit particularly well. It just doesn't. And I was never super thrilled with having any kind of a big logo like that. Willie Moscone didn't make this cue, so why is his name on the damn thing? It just kind of bothers me. And then you're not going to be able to pick it up here. But, yeah, right in here, there's a scuff mark. Watch out, kitty. There's a cat. There's a scuff mark in the finish. And it's not like I abused these cues. This scuff mark just appeared from me hanging the cue on the wall at one point. I don't know. I've heard that these might be made in some foreign country, and the quality may not be as good as one would hope. I can kind of say for a fact that the quality of this is not as good as the quality of the one I bought at Superbirds Expo 20 years ago. But it doesn't take away the fact that the design of this thing, to me, is very, very pretty. And that's just it. That's my top 10. The ordering of these top 10s could change. They probably will change the more I think about it. And it's even possible that I may, if I had a chance to do all this over again, then I may pick a different one. You know, instead of that D21, for example, I may pick a different cue. Probably not. Yeah, because it probably wouldn't really be worth it. So I'm going to stop this. Those are my top 10 cues that I think are the prettiest for me. Yeah, okay. Thanks, guys.